a new conservatism after 1815. Following the defeat of, Napoleon in 1815, European governments were driven by the spirit of conservatism. What is conservatism? Conservatism means you like the old system. You want the old system to be there. And what was the old system? The rule of the kings. So you like the old system, you want the old system to be there, but conservatives also believe that the old system should be merged with the new system also. Modernization should be there. Then only the old system will work in a better manner when there is modernization. That is what the conservatives believed in, and that is conservatism. The explanation is there. You can underline it. Conservatives believed that established traditional institutions of state and society, like the monarchy, the church, social hierarchies. We are done in class 9, the hierarchies. First estate, second estate, third estate. This is hierarchy, different level in the society, different level of people. So the social hierarchies, property and family should be preserved. This was the old system. Society divided into different levels. All right. Family system, the system of property, church, very powerful, monarchy, the rule of monarchy. So the conservatives believed that all this should go on, all this should carry on. Most conservatives, however, did not propose a return to society of pre-revolutionary days. But they did not say that all this should carry on. Doesn't mean that we go back to before the French Revolution, the time before the French Revolution. No, we don't want that time also. We want changes. Rather, they realized from the changes initiated by Napoleon that modernization could in fact strengthen traditional institutions like the monarchy. It could make state power more effective and strong. A modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudalism and serfdom could strengthen the autocratic monarchies of Europe. Underline all these. These are the things which were supported by the conservatives. They said the old traditions, old methods should be there, but with these changes. When these changes were brought by Napoleon, and they had seen the good effect of these changes. So that is why they said the old method should be there, but the changes should also be there. Got it? That is conservatism. In 1815, representatives of the European powers, Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria, who had collectively defeated Napoleon, met at Vienna to draw up a settlement on Europe. All these European powerful countries, Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, they had a meeting at Vienna to decide about Europe. The Congress, that is the meeting, this meeting was hosted by Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. All right, he was ruling over Austria. He called this meeting, Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up the Treaty of Vienna of 1815 with the object of undoing most of the changes that had come about in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. So, the European powers, they had a meeting at Vienna, and there they sat and discussed about the new policies that should be followed in Europe to make a better Europe. And finally, they signed an agreement which is known as the Treaty of Vienna of 1815. And the main thing in this was that undoing most of the changes that had come in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. When there were wars with Napoleon at that time, what all changes had come, out of those changes, many things will be undone. That is, we will return back to the old system. Napoleon had changed, but we will not follow it. We will return back to the old system. The Bourbon dynasty, which had been deposed during the French Revolution, was restored to power, and France lost the territories it had annexed under Napoleon. So you know, before the French Revolution, the Bourbon dynasty, King Louis XVI, he was ruling over France. but then he was executed during the French Revolution. Now it was decided that again the Bourbon dynasty will rule over France. Again they will follow the French Revolution. They will follow things which were happening before the French Revolution. So Bourbon dynasty was restored to power, brought back to power, and France lost the territories it had annexed under Napoleon. And whatever territories under the rule of Napoleon France had taken from the other parts of the world, that will be given back, returned. Napoleon had annexed, he has captured and joined all the area with France. Now all those areas which were captured will be returned back, given back. All right. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent French expansion in future, and in order to prevent French armies from again starting to conquer different areas of the world, on the borders of France different states were set up, new regions were formed. Thus, the Kingdom of Netherlands, which included Belgium, was set up in north, and Genoa was added to Piedmont in south. Prussia was given important new territories on its western frontiers. Austria was given control of northern Italy. But the German Confederation of 39 states that had been set up by Napoleon was left untouched. Napoleon made Germany out of 39 regions, joined 39 regions. All right, it was explained to you earlier. There were different currencies. He made only two currencies. Otherwise, all the states were having different currencies. So this confederation, this group, this association of 39 states which Napoleon had formed for Germany, it was not dismantled or distributed between anyone. It was kept intact, one. All right, together. In the east, Russia was given part of Poland, while Prussia was given a portion of Saxony. The main intention was to restore the monarchies that had been overthrown by Napoleon and create a new conservative order in Europe. So, new kingdoms were formed up all around France. What was the aim? In order to bring back the rule of monarchy. Bring back the rule of monarchy. That was their aim. All right. Conservative regimes set up in 1815 were autocratic. Again, the same thing. They ruled as dictators. Autocratic, they ruled as dictators. Or in one person's hand. So they had set up new states, new kingdoms. Again, kings started ruling, and again they have their old methods only. They are not going to change. Though conservatives said that we should follow the old methods, traditions and everything, but modernize things. But the kings are not ready to modernize. They did not tolerate criticism and dissent. Criticism, anyone telling that you are doing bad, this is not the way of doing things. Anyone talking against you, the kings did not like it. They felt that whatever they are doing is correct and no one should raise voice against it. Dissent means disagreement. Whatever decisions they have taken is correct. No one can disagree. This was the thought of the kings. And sought to curb activities that questioned the legitimacy of autocratic governments. Many people had this thought: is this government worthy of ruling over us? A king's government, a monarchical government, an autocratic government, is it worthy of ruling over the people? They tried to control such people who put up these questions, put them in jail and all, in order to control them. So again, they started following their own methods. No one should raise voice against us. We will do whatever we wish to do. This was their method. Most of them imposed censorship laws to control what was said in newspapers, books, plays and songs, and reflected the ideas of liberty and freedom. And what they did? Censorship. Censorship means control. Government imposed control on newspapers, magazines, plays, poetry. Nothing should be there against the government, against the monarch. All right. Nothing should be there about liberty, about freedom, about rights, about equality. Nothing should be there. They censored everything. No such thing should be printed and given to the people. The memory of French Revolution nonetheless continued to inspire liberals. One of the major issues taken up by liberal nationalists who criticized the new conservative order was freedom of press. So, the monarchs, the new governments which came up, they tried to control the people, they tried to control everything, and they wanted to take away the thoughts of French Revolution from the minds of the people. But it is not possible. You can control things. It will not come in paper, it will not come in plays, it will not come anywhere, but in your minds you know it. You know about it. Many had witnessed the French Revolution. They know about it. You can't take it out of their mind also. So it continued, and the liberals, we had talked about liberals in the last video, they continued getting inspiration from French Revolution, that when France could do like this, why can't all other countries of Europe do like that? And the main problem was that freedom of press was taken away. Press should be always free. When press is free, then only good reporting takes place, and when there is good reporting, then only you come to know whether the government is working properly or not. But if the press is not free, then what happens? All false news come in front of you, and you don't know what to believe. All right? The revolutionaries. During the years following 1815, the fear of repression drove many liberal nationalists underground. Underground, they went in hiding. Fear that because we are liberals, there are chances that the government will arrest us and put us in jail. So because of that, they went in hiding. They lived secretly and they carried on their work secretly. Secret societies sprang up in many European states to train revolutionaries and spread their ideas. Revolutionaries were given training to spread the ideas of liberty, the ideas of freedom, the ideas of equality, one nation, one state. To be revolutionary at this time meant a commitment to oppose monarchical forms that had been established after the Vienna Congress. So, if I am a revolutionary, it means I am against the conservative government. I am against the Treaty of Vienna, which was signed by everyone. I am against all this. If I am a liberal. Alright. So that is why the liberals went underground. They started making secret societies and working secretly. Most of these revolutionaries also saw the creation of nation states as a necessary part of this struggle for freedom. So all these revolutionaries had one thing in mind, that if they want to get freedom, then creation of nation state is very important. In the beginning only it was explained, nationalism, the feeling that we belong to one country, one nation, the sense of belongingness. Alright, we share the same history, we share the same culture. This feeling should be brought about in the minds of the people. Then only people will, with energy, try to work towards freedom. This was understood by the revolutionaries. One important revolutionary is there, we'll learn about him, read about him. One such individual was the Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini. Born in Genoa in 1805, he became a member of the secret society of Carbonari. As a young man of 24, he was sent into exile in 1831 for attempting a revolution in Liguria. So, this Giuseppe Mazzini, he was a revolutionary, a young revolutionary, and when he was 24 at that time, he had attempted a revolution against the government in Liguria, and because of that, he was sent to exile. He was sent away from his country, out of the country. All right. He subsequently founded two more underground societies. First, Young Italy in Marseille, and then Young Europe in Bern. So he formed two secret societies, Young Italy and Young Europe. These were the two societies which was formed by Giuseppe Mazzini. Why he formed these societies? In order to bring about like-minded people together, people who want to fight against the government, who want to bring freedom, who want to create one nation. He wanted those people to come together. He wanted to train these people so that they can struggle for freedom, struggle for the formation of one nation, whose members were like-minded young men from Poland, France, Italy, and the German states. Mazzini believed that God had intended nations to be the natural units of mankind. He said God wants different nations as different units of mankind. All the German-speaking people in one country, all the French-speaking people in one country, they have their common tradition, they have their common history. It is a desire of God. This is what Mazzini said. So Italy could not continue to be a patchwork of small states and kingdoms. It had to be forged into a single unified republic within a wider alliance of nations. So it was explained to you earlier also in this chapter that most of the kingdoms at that time were patchwork. Now what is patchwork? You have seen the collage formation. You cut paper from here and there and fix it and make something. Patchwork is also like that. Pieces of cloth tied together here and there, sewn together. So the kingdoms in those times were patchwork because under a king, suppose I am a king and this is my area where I am ruling, my kingdom. In this kingdom, some part is there where German speaking people are there who have their own culture. Some part is there where French speaking people are there, they have their own culture. Some part is there where Italian speaking people are there. Some are there where Polish speaking people are there. Again, another king is there, he also has like this. So what is happening? I am the king, but I am ruling over people, or in my kingdom there are people who belong to different cultures, who don't have a common history. They don't have a sense of belongingness. The only common thing is that the king is the same. Otherwise, nothing is common with those people. So this was, the kingdoms were made of patchwork of different cultures and people of different languages and countries. So Giuseppe Mazzini and people like him, they said that this should not be done. Same cultured people should live in one nation. They should have a sense of belonging, a collective belonging, a sense of oneness, a sense of attachment to their nation. This unification alone could be the basis of Italian liberty. So when all the Italian speaking areas come together, then only Italy will be unified and Italy would be free. Following his model, secret societies were set up in Germany, France, Switzerland, and Poland. Mazzini's relentless opposition to monarchy and his vision of democratic republics frightened the conservatives. So the conservatives were frightened of him because he continuously worked against the conservative regimes, the governments. He was telling the people that this is not the form of government that we want. We have to work for freedom and we want one country, one nation. So conservatives did not like at that time Joseph Mazzini, and what Metternich say? Metternich described him as the most dangerous enemy of our social order. At that time, Duke Metternich told everyone, Joseph Mazzini is the most dangerous enemy of our social order. Today, the way the society is working, Joseph Mazzini is the dangerous thing for such a society. He is trying to demolish this society. He is trying to change this society. And we should not allow him to do that. Got it? So this was the conservative regimes. And then we have the next topic, the age of revolution. So you have to read this paragraph nicely, put there important that last paragraph about Joseph Mazzini. Alright, many times short note comes about Joseph Mazzini, what you know about the societies which he has formed, the names of the societies, alright, young Europe, young Italy and all that. Or who said, for whom did Duke Metternich say that he is the most dangerous enemy of the social order? You should remember that it is Joseph Mazzini. These type of questions can come. So this paragraph is very important. So put important there. So I hope you have understood till here. Alright. In case of any doubts when you come for the offline class, you can come up with your doubts also. Alright. Now be seated like this only. I will be taking your attendance. So be seated like this only. So see you all in the next class. Okay.